Here's Wilson, and on the right, certainly scores!
Rebound loose, wild scramble in front, score! Ovechkin with a buzzer beater! It counts!
And a hat trick tonight, number 21,
Spectacular! Braden Holtby!
Hello, and welcome once again to the Power Play Point podcast. This is your host, the Blue Liner on Point, speaking to you live wherever you are, especially if you are in either the District of Columbia, the state of Maryland, or the Commonwealth of Virginia. Talking to you about yet another week in the world of hockey. And what a week it was. Not always good, of course. And with me, as always, my co-host, the one and only Mermaid, live to tape from Centerville, Virginia. She is Anna Knox.
Yes, I am. Good evening, Gil.
Good evening.
How are things in Maryland?
Yeah, they're things. It's another day of work, another day of mulling over stuff that happened last night, and okay, just going to come out and say I threw down the gauntlet on the Facebook page for anybody to want to come on and talk about the team and how it's been doing. And we're actually going to have three kind folks come in and share their opinions with us live to tape, and I'm going to put them on for this episode 122 and hear from them, and hopefully they'll be sharing their wisdom with us, along with what we're going to go through here. I understand, speaking of last night, though, that you were not able to attend or watch the game. So what did you get up to?
I know. I was bummed, but then after seeing the score, not so much. Not so much. No, I had this opportunity my best friend had this gift certificate, and she'd been talking about it for months, and we could never figure out girls' weekend or when we were going to do this. And we finally chose this weekend to go, and I committed, and she made the reservation. And then I had to send her a message and say, okay, you do realize the Niners are playing Saturday at 4:30, and you do realize the Caps are playing at 7:00 on right after. And she's like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. We'll figure it out. So I saw the Niners win. Woo! At a bar, and when we went to this B&B, we couldn't get the channel. But you know what? I will tell you, and I'm not a huge person who's big on B&Bs. Never I don't have a huge experience with going to them. But if you have an opportunity, whether it's with a friend, a spouse, a significant other, I don't care who it's with, go to the Black Dog Farm Inn in Linden, Virginia. It is gorgeous. The host, Kristen, and her husband could not have been cooler people. They watched some of the game with us last night. We talked about the podcast, so hopefully they're going to get a chance to listen when this goes out. I promised them I'd send it to them. But fantastic people, fantastic, just everything. The view, they had animals, the rooms were amazing. So yeah, it was a different kind of weekend vibe for me. But I came back just really loving it. Just a whole other part of Virginia I'm not familiar with. But then I had spotty Wi-Fi. So I was kind of like, oh, we're just losing. It's just 1-0. And then I would find a place in the room and be like, what the hell? It's now 4-1. Yeah. So whatever it just looked bad. And then of course, as I got into range today, as I was driving home, my phone was blowing up with a whole bunch of comments. And then I saw your post and you got some fighting words out there, Gil. So I'm ready for tonight, because I'm pretty sure you and I are not going to see eye to eye.
No, I don't think we are. And so I will just put this out there to set the tone. Look, those of you out there, and I've talked to a few of you already, not verbally, of course, but at least through the Facebook room and other rooms. Look, those of you out there who are of the opinion that this is just a bump in the road, it's a long season, they will right the ship. Well, yes, there's a good chance they will. But at the same time, if you're thinking everything is hunky-dory and there's not much to worry about, think again. That is my point of view. I will warn you right now. And I have a lot of ammunition on my side that says, well, frankly, I'm right. And I know of at least a few people that agree with me, and including at least one of our callers tonight. So just letting you know that's where I'm coming from. And
right.
you may disagree, others may disagree, but I'm just letting you know right now that's where I stand, and I'm not holding back anything. Okay, so because we're in something of a time crunch, and we want to give callers ample time to air their points of view, we're going to dispense with the usual format where we recap all the games. We're just going to do a quick zip through of last night's game, because I think that out of the three that were played is the most telling as far as how our Caps have been doing lately.
Okay.
So quick scoring summary. Okay, so 5:27 into the first, Nico Hischier with his 11th. Okay, not really a whole lot to worry about. My notes say, well, Holtby could have played it a little bit better, but I mean, one goal you would think isn't going to beat us. Okay, fine. No more scoring in the first period. Over to the second, 3:28 in the second. Nikita Gusev with his eighth, assisted by Will Butcher and Wayne Simmons. Wayne Simmons, I mean, some folks say he's at the end of his career. If he was on a better team, I think his points total would be a lot better. But yeah, he's got two bad wheels, and they're going bad on him real quick. But yeah, he's still producing. He's still putting out points. So he's pretty good there. I think he's doing fairly well. All right. So okay. Zipping right along. Then Blake Coleman makes it zip Caps on the short. This was the stake in the heart right here. This one right here. Short-handed goal, 3-0 Devils. I think, unfortunately, we all realized, didn't want to, but we kind of realized this was the beginning of the end of this game. And then, of course, they got that 5-on-3, which deteriorated into a long 5-on-4. And Vrana finally puts it away. The decision to put him on the first PP unit paid dividends finally. That was the only one out of the 5 chances they got. Hischier with his 12th later made 4-1. That was pretty much the icing on the cake. And then they got an empty netter, yada, yada, yada. 3 stars of the game. You'll notice there are no caps on there. Yeah. And or should there have been.
Wait, did you say it was Vrana's 12th?
Vrana's 20th.
Yeah. I think you said 20th.
No, I said it was Nico Hischier's 12th when he got his into the game.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Vrana got
because when it comes to my number 13,
I know.
Sure. All right.
No, I've got the sheet right in front of me. So that's no way I'd screw that up. They made Vrana, Joe B. and Locker did, the Cap star of the game. I would disagree with that. I would say the best Cap that night was Todd Reardon for calling a timeout in the middle of the second period and chewing them out, ripping them a new one.
Oh, so you saw him do that?
He was yes.
See, and you
should have seen him. He was. They had the camera on him the whole time. He was waving his arms. His face was turning as redder than the uniforms. He was PO'd.
Good.
Let me tell you.
All right. I believe you. Okay. Well, I didn't know that part. That makes me proud. Go Todd Reardon, because he has it in him. But like we've always said, he's sort of, the dad coach, and it's like,
right, the calm one, the guy, the guy.
But you know what? If he's gonna lose his shit, like that's I think what people wanted to see for a while. Though they want to see him get amped up and put the players in their place and say, okay, what the fuck? Let's get going. What are you doing out there? So that's awesome.
Right. So
Okay, good.
So I mean, easily he was the cap with the most passion and the most fire. I posted this somewhere on Twitter. Easily the one that had, clearly the only one that gave a damn last night. And as I've said for a while, this is symptoms of the way they've been playing that have been going on for about a month now. And you can call it what you want, a slump, sputtering into the All-Star break. I think it's signs of something worse. And I'm upset, for one, because this is the kind of thing that leads into a bad postseason. I reposted a tweet that Ed Frankovic tweeted with a very significant and telling statistic. Well, now it's 6-7-1, but at the time the Caps were 6-6-1 against teams in their own division. And guess who they play in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs? That's right, teams from the Metro Division.
Right.
So again, if there are folks out there who might be listening to this who thinks nothing's wrong, well, think again. Okay, so since you didn't see last night's game, I guess, I mean, based on the score sheet or anything like that, other than Vrana scoring, anything you had an opinion on before we get to our callers?
No, other than the fact that I had a big old what the fuck, it's the Devils moment, kind of shaking my head. And then, like, when I was in range to get any kind of social media stuff, I heard a lot of negative talk about Holtby, and a lot of that the players just look flat, and the lines need to be mixed up and that kind of stuff. So I got a good feel for everything. And then I did go back and I tried to watch as much as I could, just in the highlights. But no, I'd like to hear what the callers have to say, because I'm okay with that.
Yeah. We'll definitely get to that, you and I, towards the end. But so as I said before, 3 of our loyal listeners have graciously consented to call in, spend their time with us this evening as we're recording this. Is Sunday, the 12th of January. So our first caller now, I'm going to bring on. He has been with us before. And it was, as I recall, I think it was last February, almost a year ago, last February, to celebrate Black History Month. And once again, as chance would have it, the museum, the traveling museum, is going to be at the Canadian Embassy over the course of the next few days. And I thankfully, Tony Olcott posted the information. I reposted it on the page. So let this gentleman know what that's all about. But again, he's been on here before. He's Stewart Small, and he's offered his opinions on what he is seeing. Going to bring him on right now. Stewart, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening. I am okay. How are you two?
Fabulous.
Wonderful, wonderful. Always good to chat with you. Anna, you're looking beautiful as always.
This is why I love having you on. I'm just gonna, you know what? I think I'm just gonna take that little soundbite. I'm just gonna loop it and just be like, "There's my stuff." Because you know what, Gil, in case you didn't know, Stewart is fantastic in sending me the most amazing Tommy photos. It's almost like he knows I like Tom.
So I have noticed.
Yeah,
I might have heard something about that, about your fandom towards Mr. Wilson. So it's just my public service.
It is, and you know what? It's appreciated. It is
you're welcome.
appreciated, and then some. So no, Stewart takes fantastic photos. For those of you who have not seen what he's posted, and it's not it's not just Capitals. It's the sports, DC sports across the board, and the Nats thing yesterday. Awesome. The weather looked gorgeous. Everything looked fantastic. So. But getting back into yesterday's game and the Caps in general, I think Gil asked if you had 2 questions or you wanted, how is it? Ask 2 questions or answer 2 questions?
Let's
quickly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I could do a power play. I've got things that I can definitely say.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so if you want to go that route, that's fine. So just to recap, what our format's going to be for those that are calling in, you will have the opportunity of one of two choices here. You can either ask or have answered of us 2 questions, or have a 2-minute power play rant where you can go on any topic about the team straight, uninterrupted. So Stewart has chosen the latter of those 2 formats. So just lining up the clock now. When I say go, the floor is yours.
Okay.
All right. So let's have you go ahead now.
All righty. Thank you very much. I think right now I see a hockey team that's not coming to the rink to play. I think that I see a team that feels, okay, well, we've got the best record. We can just show up. It really doesn't have to do much effort on our part. And teams are taking advantage of it. It's not until they start to get behind that they realize, oh, we got a game tonight. We got to play. And of course, by that time, it's too late. They're pressing. They're not playing their game. They are playing desperate. And other teams, no matter how good or how bad they are, read the New Jersey Devils last night. They can see that and they take advantage of it. I don't see the effort. I don't see the energy that has been a characteristic of the team that won the Stanley Cup back in 2017 or 2018, excuse me. And I think that someone needs to sit them down. And I mentioned it last night, Gil. You saw the comment I made. If I was Coach Reardon, this morning I would get them up early. I would make them do wind sprints. Right now, they are not playing sound hockey. They're not playing good hockey. They're definitely not playing like a team that wants to win its second cup in 3 years. They're just going through the motions right now. And they need to sit down. They need to figure it out. They need to say, hey, why are we not working? Why are we not doing the extra effort? Why are we just showing up at games late in the games? And they need to figure it out. They need to figure it out fast. And Gil, I totally agree with you. It isn't just a bump in the road. There is something going on in there, and they need to fix it, and they need to fix it soon.
Wow. That was great. Exactly 2 minutes. And yes, you and I are definitely simpatico on this.
I'm hanging up.
You're not going anywhere. But yeah, there's something inherently wrong with this team, and you nailed it. I don't understand why they have to chase the game as it were, instead of taking the play to the other team first. They literally waited to the last minute against the Sharks to bother to show up and play. Now, luckily, it didn't bite them in the rear end, and they were able to make a miracle comeback. But
you can't depend on that.
Exactly. They went to the well one too many times, and against a last place team, they flat out embarrassed themselves. Now, before we let you go, Stewart, I just wanted to answer one follow-up question. Have you answer one follow-up question? There, as Anna, I think, mentioned a little bit ago, there has been a lot made of, a good chunk of Caps fans, I have noticed, have started to get on the trade Holtby, get rid of Holtby, what is wrong with Holtby bandwagon. Very briefly, what is your take on the situation?
Now, I think that that's a panic move. We do not need to get rid of Holtby. Every goaltender goes through horrible stretches. Now, yes, he hasn't been playing to the Holtbeast way of play that we're used to, but trade him? I mean, come on. This man was one of the best players in our Stanley Cup run. Yes, he's been playing not so well, and he hasn't been as aggressive and as confident as we'd like to see. But to trade him, that's just a panic move. That's just get him out of here. Let's see Samsonov. I don't know. That is a man who won a Stanley Cup for us, and to trade him, to me, would just be giving up. We need his veteran leadership there. We need his experience there. I am not ready to cut ties with Mr. Holtby at all. That is silly.
and I'm totally 110% with you on that. I think that would absolutely be a mistake to cut him loose early. I think he would provide a steadying hand as far as the goaltending tandem would go, and no less a man than Evgeny Kuznetsov mentioned that in a post-game scrum not too long ago. So if the team internally already knows that, why break it up and do something silly
Exactly.
to disrupt what you have? Well, it may not look like it on the surface, but what you have is a good thing. So again, we're absolutely in sync on that. Anna, did you have anything to follow up with Stewart?
No, I am in agreement with the Holtby thing, and Gil, I know you and I will get into that afterwards, but no, 100%. I'm not ready to give up on number 70. No way. Yeah. The other stuff, I don't know. I see and I see things differently with this team, so I will give my 2 cents after we get the next caller or two's opinion, right, Gil? Then you and I will put our 2 cents.
Oh
in.
yes. Then you and I will have one of our famous scrums. I'm sure.
I'm ready.
Oh, that should be good. May I add one more thing too?
Absolutely.
Please.
Is there time? Okay, great. As you two may or may not know, I am also a Mystic season ticket holder. And one of the benefits of my tickets is that the Mystics have little post-game chalk talks, meet and greets, if you will, where they get to answer questions from fans about the game or about anything that's on their mind. And I remember, of course, they made their run to the WNBA championship, and they pretty much came out the gate strong, and they kept things going. I asked, one of these talks, I asked the players, how do you keep it going? How do you keep your feet on the accelerator? How do you avoid thinking, oh, well, we've got this. We can just cruise now. And to a woman, they each said, we know we can't relax. We know that there are a lot of good teams out there that can get hot at any moment. And she gave the example, Ariel Powers, one of the players I spoke with, gave the example of the Connecticut team that they ended up playing and beating in the finals, how they got off to a hot start and then suddenly they went down. So they have to show up to work every day, and they need to put 110% if they want to end things. They can't just relax. They have to keep going. And I think right now, long story short, the Caps need to get back to that. They need to realize, okay, we're not going to just cruise. The cup's not going to just be handed to us. We need to work every day. We need to get back to basics. We need to look at film, and we need to do a better job of holding each other accountable. I am glad Reardon had his little tirade on the bench. He needed to put his foot in butts and say, look, you are embarrassing yourselves. You're not representing those colors the way you should be. Work, work, work. It's not going to be handed to you, and the next thing you know, you're going to be sitting at home watching someone else get off with the cup. So the Caps, long story short, the Caps need to get back to that. They need to wake up. They need a wake-up call. They need to get things going and get it going fast. Next game.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yep. No, I agree, and I love the Mystics input. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example. I'm glad you brought that up. So it's great that we have several teams, next door, as it were, to serve as an example. So that's an excellent point. I'm really glad you brought that up. Of course, we're advocates of women's sports here as well. So even so much the better. As that goes. Okay, so that great points all around. Thank you so much, Stewart. I'm really glad you were able to come on, spend some time with us tonight. I know you've got a lot of things going on, so we're not going to keep you. But thanks for coming on and giving us your time and your insight into things. And we hope to have you on real soon again later on the season.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. Keep up the great work also.
Talk to you soon.
Pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right, so that was Stewart Small again, and he's a regular contributor to our site. He's also involved in media around the DC area as well. Used to work for News Channel 8, as you recall, and I'm not sure what projects he has going on, but I'm sure when and if he wishes to plug them, we'll certainly give them a shout on his behalf. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bring in on our next caller here. And I don't recognize the number. I think
It's Fletch.
this is Fletch. Okay. And he's been on with us before as well. I was a good while ago when not long after you and I first started. But we're going to go ahead and bring him on.
It was like last year, and I was wickedly sick. And I said I had to give a shout out to this guy on Twitter who sounded so great that he's like, if I lived in Maryland, I'd come and bring you, bourbon and honey and make you this drink. And I thought that was so
right.
cool. Yeah. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
All good. But he's got some opinions. He's pretty anti-Holtby. So be ready.
Okay. Well, all right. So we're probably going to get into it then. But let's go ahead and bring him on now. Hi, Fletch, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Sure can. How you guys doing tonight?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks for hanging in there and being patient with us. Appreciate you calling in.
All right. So real quick on the Holtby deal. I just go by stats and what I've seen for years. And Holtby's number 43 right now ranking. Fleury's down at 30. And these guys are, supposed to be guys that hold the team together. When you give up the first goal within first 5 minutes, if not more, that's deflating on any team. I don't care if you're a Stanley Cup winner or not a Stanley Cup winner. But if we're going to talk about bashing goaltenders, I mean, it's not really a bash, just his mental. And we've all seen this before. His mental makeup right now is just, it's not good. Even though he has played 32 games, he's at 3.02 goals against. Grubauer, let's go back with our goaltenders we did have. Grubauer's at 35, 2.92. Varlamov just got a nice fat contract in the island. He's played 28 games. He's at 2.33. And of course, the golden child, Samsonov, he's ranked 6th with a 2.25. Anytime you see Sam in net, that team is totally different. He gives up 0 just about in the first period. Second period, he kind of little falters, but on that, he locks it down. So anybody that's saying that Holtby's not tradable at this point in their career, and you look at the games that Samsonov's won, but you also have to give Holtby, credit. I mean, he did win the Stanley Cup on his own pretty much, but this year it just seems like he's just not there. And that's why I bash a goaltender, because if you're a goaltender, you have got to be the first line. Doesn't matter how many goals you score. It just takes 1 to win, not 7 or 8. And the Caps can't come back like they used to. They don't have the legs. They don't have the speed. Their speed is just not there. Kuznetsov, just non-existent. Even Oshie. I mean, you got to kind of wonder about his speed. Even though these guys are all-stars, the only ones out there that I see that are really always there for you, Carlson, which is deserving. There's others too. Wilson is, a banger out there. Hagelin has been non-existent, probably the worst contract we've ever had in years. But I do like the Lepsic Panic, another one that needs to be traded at the deadline and washed off maybe Hagelin also and bring up some of these young guys. Defense, horrible as always. Gudas was not a great pick. I mean, for the rough and tumble stuff, he's been awesome. But, I mean, the fights he's been in lately, he's gotten it handed to him. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, Todd really should have been on these guys long ago. Any Metro guys that we play against, it's a heartbreak out there. Columbus for one. Wait till we start playing the Penguins, games we have to have. I was at the Carolina game the other night. They look unbelievable with 2 backup goaltenders, career backup goaltenders, and they're in higher stats than Holtby is and Grubauer.
Right. So let me stop you here because you're just about at 2 minutes. So okay. Well, a couple follow-ups I have here. How much would you say then, as far as when Holtby plays, that the D and the supposed to be back checking forwards bear a responsibility? I mean, I'm not going to lie. He's looked shaky at times. It's not as if he's 100% virgin pure here and make no mistakes. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that our D and our back-checking forwards bear some responsibility, and they have hung them out to dry more often than not. How much is it on them versus just on Holtby, would you say?
Well, I mean, it's all just on them just as much. But, I mean, you can look at the goals that are going against Holtby. I mean, he's not in position. I mean, you can look at the Devils game. That was a horrific game. You could tell by the first goal it was over. But, yeah, the guys that I mentioned, the guys that are supposed to feed the free agent acquisitions, man, I think we screwed up when we traded Chandler for a fifth-round pick. They traded Hagelin and a box of pucks, and I would have been a lot happier. Panic, again, he should have been gone a long time ago, regardless of him. He is just not a great player at all. Unfortunately, I think his time is done, and at least for the Caps anyhow. But, no, I agree with you. No, it is. It does come back on them, but when you get that first goal up with a minute in the game, you haven't even settled down with a drink yet, and sure as shit, it's 1-0 the other team. How many times have Holtby's done this throughout his entire career? Ovechkin doesn't have the legs. Baxter doesn't have the legs. The mainstays, other than Carlson, honestly, they just don't have it like they used to. And it's going to be kind of tough for them to fight off the Metro. We'll be lucky we stay with where we're at, because I think we're going to be fighting to get into the playoffs this year. And I hate to say that, but Ovechkin cannot keep scoring the way he has all these years. You can't blame it on OV this time around, you know.
Fair enough. So, Anna, would you say you kind of agree with everything or a lot of things that Fletch has said here?
Nope.
Really?
No, I don't agree. I think that I'm hearing so much negativity about the team and where they're at, and no one's looking at positive end of things. There are the wins and that fourth line, and there are so many good things. When it comes to Holtby, this is not the first time that we have been in a situation in which he has been in a negative headspace. And, before it was, are we ever going to win the cup? And always, he's going to choke and this and that. And then we win the cup. And then it's always going to be something with the fans. Everyone's got to say something. And now, unfortunately, what's kind of chirping in his ear is him going to Seattle. And that sucks. It's like, he wants to, I just think that people are way too harsh on him and need to step back and say, okay, how could you look at and say how fantastic he was, in the end of the San Jose game, and everyone's like, oh, Holtby, that's why we have him. He's so amazing. And then, we go into Flyers game and it's like, oh shit. And obviously last night's game, and everyone, it's like there isn't. It's truly is just not fair how people are with this guy. I think that he has that terrible thing that goes on where he gets into a negative headspace and he just can't quite get out of it. But this is it's a repeat offender for we talk about this the same time every year, halfway into the season, and what's he going to do? And, so maybe he does need a break. God, like I would if I was playing that position, but no, I don't think, so that's on the Holtby end of it. The Panik end, I agree at first. I didn't understand why we got him. I didn't think that he was doing anything fantastic, but I think that he is sort of proven himself the last couple of games. I like him. I know he's out injured now, but I like him when he's on the ice. Like, I don't have an issue with him. Hagelin, I feel in the beginning we talked a lot about him and sort of praised him, and sort of not talking a whole lot about him these days. But you know what? I'm not talking about Tommy either. So, we're sort of in this downslope of, how they started off fantastic, and we're at that time for a break. I will say the person I still think that needs to be discussed on why the hell we got him is Nick Jensen. So he's the one that I am the most frustrated with, because I don't doubt the guy has skill. He's just not giving anything to the team. And I think he doesn't have chemistry, which whomever he is paired up with, whatever it is, it's just not quite there. Like a Kent Carlson.
And
that's kind of where I'm at.
I got my own thoughts on that, but I'm going to toss it back to you. I'm going to toss it back to you, Fletch. What do you think? You mentioned Gudis. I mean,
Yeah,
to
I mean,
me,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I mean, when we got Gudis, it was supposed to be replacing Brooks. Man, as many times as Brooks been hurt, Brooks did a whole lot more than Gudis did. He didn't lose fights. I mean, it's great that he gets like 2 goals in the entire season. And I'm not dogging. If I just mention one person, I'm happy with those. The rest of them, I'm not. Like Jensen, I'm not happy with him at all either. I mean, it's a tough scenario right now for the Caps. But every game we have won, they don't count. The only ones that count are in the East. That's all that matters to us. The Metro and the Atlantic, of course. But when you get out west, it's a whole other game. Those games really don't count. We're really going to see what the Caps are going to be like when after the All-Star break. And this is when you're going to see the pitchforks flying and the barn burns down. This is where it's going to really start counting. And I think they need to do something, whether it's on defense, give Holtby a long break, bring back Mitch Korn, for God's sake. I know we've all said that a million times over again. Holtby has got to be Holtby. If he doesn't, we're going home again early. If we're lucky to get out of the first round, if we're lucky to get into the playoffs. I mean, here it comes. And get ready.
Yeah, no, some good points there. I don't know if I agree with all of that, but yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to be a realist, yeah, that's how you got to look at it. You got to assume that worst case scenario is right in your face and definitely possible.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, some good points there, but yeah, I mean, all is not lost yet. I mean, obviously, if the season ended now, we had the playoffs now, still kind of sort of in good shape, but no, not the way we've been playing. And like I said, lot of obvious things to fix. And
Great.
the defense isn't scot-free, neither is the offense, and neither is the goaltending. Pardon me, lots not to like, lots that need fixing by whoever, whether it's a trade. I mean, you can always make a trade. You can always figure out even though they're up against the cap, you can always figure out a way to tweak things enough to get things working again. There's always options. And it could be that we're at the point where something like that has to be done. So, I mean, I agree with you that that's a possibility, but yeah, I mean, let's take a wait and see approach a little bit first, not for too long, but for a little while.
It'll be a hell of a trade. It'd be a hell of a trade to make this ship right instantly. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Brian is going to even pull the trigger. He's going to relax. He's going to see what he's going to do. He might tweak something, but I seriously doubt it. I think this is what we see in front of us is what we're going to get to the playoffs. But I think our season starts after the All-Star break. It always does for most teams that are at the playoff point right now.
True enough. And
thanks,
yeah,
guys.
Absolutely, Fletch. Is great having you on. Hope to hear from you soon. And thanks for listening.
All righty. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
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 And then there were two. Okay, I don't know that our third caller will be joining us. So unfortunately, I have not heard back from her. So going to have to assume that that's not happening. So kids, it's just mom and dad here, and we're going to have a talk with you. All right. You want to start, or you want to?
No. I'm ready. I'm ready for the Gill Gauntlet to drop. I want to hear what's got you so fired up.
Okay. Well, I mulled this over all day today, and I thought, okay, I wanted to do the Alexi Lawless where it was, I think, 2017, 16 or 17, just before they blew their World Cup qualifying, the U.S. soccer team. And he literally called out every player on the United States men's soccer team and said, you all are basically said, you all are playing like crap. And he kind of took them all to task individually. And then I thought about it and I figured, well, probably not enough time for that. And I couldn't really find everything bad about everybody Like, Fletch was just on, he was, ragging on Hagelin. I mean, yeah, the guy's only got one goal, but look how valuable he's been on the PK. So there are some good things about this team. This team is salvageable.
Right.
They are doing good things. They are doing right. The PK I mentioned is vastly improved. Now, right now, they have over an 82%, 83% efficiency rating right now, and they're one of the top 5 units in the league. So that's a good thing. Not enough to build on, but it's a good thing. But look, I am in the extreme middle right now, unfortunately. There are those of you out there, and I'm going to call you out, you know who you are, that are saying, trade this guy, fire Reardon, do this, do that, do something drastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not there yet, okay? We're not at that point. There is plenty of time left. The trade deadline isn't for another month or so, all right? Nobody should be in panic mode. I am not saying I am in panic mode, but am I upset? Yes. And this is where I turn my attention to those of you out there, and you know who you are, that are saying everything's hunky-dory. There's plenty of time left. Yes, there's plenty of time left. But guess what happened to those who wasted it? Guess what happened to those who were in first place? And those of you who are listening, and again, you know who you are. I like to point out this team is in first place. Yes, they stood on the shoulders of teams that had a bad start, that didn't play well the first few months of the season, and banked a lot of points. And yes, the Caps should be commended for that. Okay? I get that. But that doesn't mean they're playing great. They're not playing anywhere near. They're playing like a shit team that is going to get swept in the first fucking round. If none of you see that, I don't know how else to put it. Do you all not realize? I mean, this is why I am a student of hockey history. Do you all not realize that what's happened to the teams that ran away with it all the first 3 quarters of the season and earned grandma's stupid, ugly ass looking ashtray known as the President's Trophy? Okay? What happened to those teams? Did any of them win the Stanley Cup? And oh, by the way, if you all remember, 3 of those teams were the Washington Capitals. Did any of them make it past the second round? I don't think so. And again, look who we play in the first and the second round. Metro Division teams. That's why I reposted what Ed Frankovic tweeted. 6-7-1. 6-7-1 against teams they could easily be facing in the first and second round. Gone are the days, for whatever reason, that this team, for whatever reason, doesn't get up for division rivals. And like it or not, we got more than a few now. Okay, thanks to Gary Bettman's cockeyed vision of how the league should be built, we have 7 teams we have to be worried about in our own damn division. All right, fine. But they are all, each and every one of them, including the teams that are buried, starting their damn playoff run right now. And they're coming after us because we're at the top. Slump or not, I don't think this is a slump. But slump or not, I'm sorry. This is not the way to play, and they need to fix it. Do they have time to? Yes. My point is, I don't see them doing a damn thing, and this is on the players. They are not doing a damn thing to fix it. I see Reardon trying to kick ass and fix it for once. But I don't see the players trying, and that's a crying shame.
Is that it?
Well, for now, I didn't want to take up the whole...
Oh, you can. You're ready. I hear the frustration.
I'm sure. Well, I'm sure you got your opinions too. I mean, this is your show too.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, there's nothing worse than one.
There's something I'm going to call out here in a second that's going to get us to fighting. But go ahead.
Okay, but no, I mean, to not be able to watch the game yesterday was frustrating, even though, I was having a good time being like, okay, how bad could it be? we're playing the Devils, and it should be a given. And of course, like I've always said, we should never take the teams that we think we should beat for granted. So, and look what happened. They kind of dropped their guard. And what I'm hearing from everybody is that it was the worst 60 minutes of hockey played. If you can even say they played 60 minutes, it sounded like it was very half-assed. But my thing is like, if we were having this conversation because they had lost, 7 or 10 games in a row, even 5 games in a row, I could see the, like feeling towards things. But we're dealing with like this, just say this last week that got everybody fired up. The Ottawa game was 6-1. We won. It was we left on a high.
But
it didn't carry over.
Right. Why didn't that carry over? But that was another next to last place team. Yeah, we're supposed to win those games.
Right. But what I'm saying is that why it didn't carry over to the Flyers and it didn't carry over to Dallas, I don't know. But my thing is, it's not a fair argument to say that we have to freak out about how the team is doing, because it's not a consistent loss. Like I said, we're not sitting here looking at 5, 7, 10, 12 like losses in a row. And we're like, holy shit, what are we going to do come trade deadline? What are we going to do come, after All-Star break? What are we going to do to shake everything up? I honestly, if I'm going to go my little soapbox moment, will say what I've said probably the last 2 years we've been doing this podcast. Todd Reardon, one, shut the practice down to the public, for one. Like, that shit, just like, people don't need to be there with their signs and their distractions and whatever else. Get them all in practice and go back to the basics. Go back to the basics, because that is what we're fucking up on right now. We have players, and I'm not even going to say, oh, people are tired. No, you've been playing hockey your whole life. You know how long it is. You know what's expected of you. I don't want to hear the tired excuse. That is one thing that I will put my foot down on. Yeah, we're all tired. Hell, like, I'm exhausted and I don't want to go to school tomorrow, but whatever. I go and I do what I'm supposed to do. But get back to that basics. We had an amazing chemistry with the team. Saw it coming out. They looked like they were having a good time on the ice. We dealt with the koozie bullshit. We dealt with, the Kempney injury. I don't know, bringing Sammy in. So there were changes, and this team 100% took the challenge and said, okay, we're going to be able to figure this out, and we're going to get wins, and we're going to get back to loving hockey and the chemistry and everything else. Now there seems to be a little bit of a shift. We kind of have the ones that were like, oh, what happened, Hagelin? What happened, Jensen? Like I said, I'm not hearing Tommy scoring as much. I'm not hearing, people talk about, Carlson's fantastic, but then there's like other things that we were talking about so much before, and now it's sort of kind of stalled a little bit. I'm okay with it. I am not panicking at all.
But what do you think? Okay, so granted, but what do you think is wrong with this team, other than the coaching staff needs to grab everybody by the cojones and back to basics? What else? Is that it? Or
I just think that I think truly, I think that's what it is. You're dealing with professional athletes. They know what they need to do. And to, like Stewart said, whether they got to go back and do drills or go back and do whatever, go back to the basics. 100% go back to the basics. Shut no public access to the practices. Get your head into the practice. And if you got to change the lines up, great. Because I know, I think Chris Levesque had posted something that, that other teams have enough footage on the Capitals that they're finding our weakness. Okay, so yeah, but every team has a weakness. Every team has something that we're going to have to work on. And yes, it's on the coaches, but on the players themselves, they have to get back into it. And we're just not seeing the 100%. So you go back to the basics with Todd Reardon, and let him take control of the practice, and Cashman and whomever else, and get the players out there practicing passing, practicing shooting pucks, put Holtby in the net, whatever you have to do to get back to what needs to get them in the right headspace of, this is why you're on this team, this is why you do what you do, and this is why you're fucking awesome athletes, and the Washington area, etc., loves you, Washington Capitals. So let's get back to that.
Fair enough. Before I get to the one thing that is going to spark some tension between us, because this guy is one of your favorites, and no, I'm not talking about Tommy. I promised Mike Stepp of Caps Fans Facebook group, who posted something awesome on his page, that I would mention his take on things. So if anything else, here's another fellow fan with his observation. So I'm going to read it word for word. I've got his post in front of me right now. Okay, ladles and jelly spoons. That's his style. After much thought and deliberation with myself, I've come to this conclusion. I think it might be time to sit Holtby for a little while. Now, before anyone starts to jump on the I hate Holtby bandwagon, please remember where you are, meaning the room that he's in and that he's a Cap supporter. It's one thing to discuss this realistically and be honest about what we're seeing. It's another thing entirely to bash Holtby with statements like, quote, he sucks, get rid of him, end quote. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that he clearly is struggling lately, and something is taking his focus away from his duties as our starting netminder. As a result, he is not playing Holtby-like hockey, and it's really starting to show. The last night was a bad game for everyone, and personally, I think they should burn those third jerseys. Whatever it is, they don't seem to play well in them. I'm not really superstitious at all, but look at what the Nats did. They wore those hideous navy blues throughout their pennant race, and look how that turned out. Not the jersey, but the mentality of the players, and for whatever reason, these jerseys have not served us well. Pardon me. Burn them and go back to the regular Reds, please. That said, blame for last night goes to everyone, but there were great plays by a number of players. Kempney, for instance, made a great save behind Holtby with a skate. Vrana continued to fight for that goal he scored. Holtby made a number of great saves as well, despite the 4 he let get past him. So, with all that said, ladles and jelly spoons, I think to help Holtby, much like in our cup run, when Trotz benched him for a time right before and into the first 2 games of the playoffs, it seemed to help him refocus.
Yeah.
So, and I think maybe that's what we should consider doing now for a time, not the rest of the season. And he asked for everyone's thoughts, and everyone did follow up, but we'll leave it at that. So just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, and look, clearly, and this is the last we're going to discuss Holtby, because I don't think. Look, you out there on the other side of the earbuds, the speakers, what have you, if you think Holtby is 150% of the problem, then you are part of the problem, because you're not watching games and you're booing the wrong thing, and you're placing the blame squarely on where it should not be, at least not 100%. It is not all on the goaltending. It is not. Some of it is, but it is not. And that's the end of it for me. Now, my beef with you,
yes.
You have been, and honestly, I don't know why, but one of your boys is starting to piss me off, and he's not a player. Reed Cashman has had a hold of this D core for a year and a half now, and I get that there have been changes in personnel and other things like that, and injuries and stuff like that, and next man up and call-ups and all kinds of disruptions. And yet through all of that, I don't see them improving. And I think a glaring example of that, and a coach would make a guy better, make a guy fit in. But a glaring example of that is Nick friggin' Jensen. The guy sticks out like a sore thumb, and a good D coach would take him aside and say, hey, look, you're doing this wrong. You could do this better. You could be positioning yourself like this. Did you see where you did that wrong there? And I am not seeing any improvement. And I know what you've said in the past. I know what you're going to say now, but it is on the coach. And I'm sorry, but if anybody should be fired right now, it ought to be him.
Interesting.
That's just my take. Look, I'm sorry. We cannot count on this D. They are amongst the leakiest in the league. Yes, some of it's on Holtby, but clearly, if you look at a lot of the goals he's let in, he's been hung out to dry. That's on the D. That's on nobody else.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I wish we could have a big fat argument, but I don't know. I'm not for dropping coaches halfway through a season. I'm not. I think that when the coaches have the break coming up, also there's going to be a lot of discussion on what needs to change, what needs to improve, and I think if at that point we're not seeing it, and it's not, I don't know. I will never put it 100% on the coaches, because the players are there. They know what they're supposed to do. They know where they're supposed to be, and they know, and that's it. Like, you know what you're supposed to do, and you know where you're supposed to be. That's it. So there shouldn't be a whole bunch of excuses on why Holtby's left out to dry. If you know what you're supposed to be doing and you know where you're supposed to be, that's it. But I also, and of course, but it's hockey and it's such a fast game, and, people want to be one place and they're at another. So I will never put any of the blame on the coaches. Not 100% of it. No. To see Todd Reardon get fired up, love it. Love it. I think we all knew he had it in him. I think he just needed to get that first, deer in the headlights year under his belt and be like, all right, now I'm not fucking around. Let's go. And I think on this end, it's, you have to put an equal amount of blame on the players as you do on the coach or coaches when it comes to stuff like this, because some of the shit that went down is like, all right, Jensen, where were you? Or, whatever, whomever we want to kind of throw in, or I want to throw into the bus in this situation. So I don't have a huge argument rant with you. I'm just.
Well, look, look, we've both crapped on Jensen. So just in the spirit of equal time, I will say this much, and I posted this on Twitter, and no less a person than Rochelle Wilcox said she agreed with me, or at least liked my tweet anyway. I don't know about agree with me. It might have been too strong, but I said, look, and this was in response to a JJ Regan post about what he said when Reardon said something about, well, Jensen's a quote unquote work in progress. And
correct.
What I said was, look, here's the problem with Jensen's overall game. He doesn't fit with this team. This team is a heavy-hitting team. They grind it out along the boards, win the battle, then get to open ice. Once you get Jensen along the boards, he's weak, he's soft, he can't win battles, he makes mistakes. You get him in open ice, though, he can move the puck fairly decently. He doesn't have a problem in open ice. You get him along the boards, though, he's mistake prone. He's toast. He's cooked.
Well, and you know what? It's interesting. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off.
No, it's fine.
Because it just something dawned on me, because I did read that JJ, his comment and what you wrote, and then I thought about it, and I thought, it must be, maybe I just think of Jensen as, maybe I'm not seeing him on the ice, whether it's, warm up or interview wise or whatever it is, having that bond with the other players. Like we had, there's always that sort of like that Oshie Wilson bromance thing. And, people talk about, how strong Carlson and Kempney are, or you talk about Ovechkin and Backstrom and their relationship, and that kind of stuff. And I think that Jensen is just one of those players that I don't think he's found his like soulmate on the team. And I know that sounds super cheesy, But I think once he finds someone he's going to click with, personality wise, ability wise, skill wise, speed wise, however it is, I think we're to see a different side of Jensen. So work in progress, I can respect that out of Todd Reardon. Obviously, he's on the team because they saw something in him that we're just not seeing right now. Is he a frustrating player? 100%. I just don't think he's found his, camaraderie yet. He hasn't found that chemistry yet. And I don't know who he's going to find it with, but I don't doubt at some point by the end of the season, I'm going to be optimistic for him that we're going to find some sort of bromance with him and another player, and we're going to see a different side of Jensen as to why the hell he is a Capital and playing when everyone's kind of shaking their heads. Like, give us a reason not to shake our heads. Number 3.
Well, it's interesting that you brought it up, and I'm and this is why you're on the show, because I never even thought of that as a possible cause. But then I got to thinking, and I do recall reading some articles where I don't know if they were pretty tight, but him and Nick Dowd pretty much came from the same background. Kind of when they were younger, they kind of came up together and grew up together from their high school and college. I think it was mainly college. I think they both came up from the U.S. developmental program as well. So if anybody, he ought to be bonding with him. Now, I don't know if anything's changed now that Nick Dowd's a father and all that, but I don't know. But I mean,
well, I did recently, and I don't know if you saw this also, because to me it was interesting, and I wish I would have caught more of it. It was just a little kind of a social media blip kind of thing, and it was Nick Jensen and I believe his wife and Hathaway and his fiance, and they were like in a panel about, I want to say it had to do with like safety, like concussion protocol and things like that. And I really wish I could have seen the whole thing, because it was obviously something that the 4 of them as individuals are very passionate about, and the 2 players there. So I thought, okay, there's, maybe that Hathaway Jensen bond will be there, but then Hathaway's got the podcast with Nick Dowd, so maybe that's where things are kind of falling apart. I have no idea, but I just think that Jensen is sort of that black sheep right now. I think the fans need to see either a fun side of him, a kick-ass play, something to kind of change their mind, kind of how we all originally felt about Gudis coming. And me included, being like, oh, he's such an ass, and he's this and he's that, and I can't stand the guy. And then he goes and does something, stand up for another player or makes a great play, and you're like, oh, all right, I'm a little soft for number 33 now. So I'm gonna, I don't want to give up on a player, but I don't know. I just think he needs to find his, his like little soulmate out there.
It don't look good for him right now. In a lot of different ways, including what you just mentioned. He sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's bad. That is bad on a team with a lot of talented players. That is bad. And you've got a valid point. I think that could be wearing down on the chemistry that, and if you don't have chemistry, you don't have good communication. If you don't have good communication, you got shit that happens that has been happening these last 10 games. So, but my the reason I brought all that up is because the defense is such a vital part of the game. You've got to have them in sync with the rest of the team. And yes, it's on the players, but the guy running the defensive pairs, making sure they're not on for too long, getting their minutes, picking up their assignments. And I'm sorry, but I don't have much trust in Reed Cashman, because he hasn't shown me that he's taken steps to improve the team. So, and if you listen to no less a man than Alan May, the D-to-D passing is way off. The first goal, what happened? Jensen missed his assignment, got lost along the boards, let a man by him. It's just there's too much responsibility to let all of this go. Who's responsible for starting the rush from your end? The two guys on the blue line. Who's responsible for quarterbacking the power play? Who's responsible for making sure the end is covered? Who's responsible for making sure the puck keeps moving in the right direction? And who's responsible for clamping down on the other end when the pressure goes the other way? The answer's the same all the way. Look, I'm going to say it now. If that doesn't improve in some manner, and I don't mean a little bit, I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this, but I'm calling time of death for this edition of the Washington Capitals in the second round of this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. If there is no significant improvement in the way the D play, it doesn't even matter if it's a personnel change. If they don't make some leap forward in how they manage the game, this team is not going to win a Stanley Cup. There's no way. All you got to do, compare this team to the team that won the Cup in 2018. Look how they picked up their assignment, how they forecheck, how they were responsible, how they covered the ice. This D-core doesn't do that, not even close. And I think right now that's the one area if that it doesn't improve, because you can switch goalies. Okay, but you got to play all 6 assigned D that you have on your roster at that time. You got to switch them out. And I think that's what doomed them last year, because they ran out of gas. They refused to play more than 1 or 2 pairs, for the overtime period. And if they do that again,
Right.
they're dead in the water. So I'm saying it right here and now. Second round of the playoffs is, if this continues, is as good as this team's going to get. Unless
If this continues.
If this continues.
I won't make a prediction. It's not my thing. But I disagree. So I think at that point, we're a good hour into the show, and that's
we
good
are.
words to kind of end the show on.
I was just about to say we're running very, very long, and I did warn you about that, but I do appreciate you for bearing with me on that. And
that was good. I loved our colors. That was good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, thank you so much once again to both Stewart Small and Fletch for calling in, giving their time, giving their opinions, very diverse opinions, of course, but hey, that's what we're here for. We welcome all that. Very strong and passionate opinions, and both gentlemen very, very, very polite. They couple of them. Couple of opinions they had might have been, focused on players personally, but they backed it up with facts. They didn't just say, "Well, this guy sucks." They made their points and they backed it up, and that's all we ask around here. It was very, very knowledgeable, very passionate, and look, they were fantastic, and it was great of them to come on. So if there's nothing else, and of course, not even going to bother with the previews of next week, suffice to say it's against 3 Metro Division teams, and Fletch mentioned this earlier. So next week is going to be a critical week because it is leading into the All-Star break, which is a week long. So yeah, next week's going to be critical. So eyes on all those games, guys. Let's see how they do. All right, and of course, before we go, Anna, of course, Sports on the Hill for Caps Talk, and I'm sure she's going to continue her opinions there. Robbie and Carol will probably be putting the question to her: "What the hell's wrong with this team?" So be sure to represent not only us, the show, but the hockey portion of Sports on the Hill as well, and give them what for. Okay, so we've wound it down. Thanks to everybody who called in. Thanks to you, the listener, for participating. Tell a friend that loves the Caps as well about our show, please. We're trying to grow the show, and we're looking to expand. So thank you for continuing that. So at the end of the show, this is the Blue Liner on Point signing off, who's obviously talked too much for one night. For Anna Knox, reminding you that my wife got angry at me for kicking the dropped ice cubes under the refrigerator. But now it's just all water under the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Hallelujah, and let's go Caps.
Go Caps.
This has been another episode of the Power Play Point Podcast. All episodes are available from Apple Podcasts, the Podbean app, BlueLiner77.podbean.com, and now available from Stitcher. Music by Joe McAllister, voiceover by Jeffrey Conkle.